Due to the ignorance of our host, parental discretion is advised.
Last time we were chilling, we were like on a lounge chair.
Yeah. See?
Yeah.
Now
So
you're
not.
more serious with the...
Yeah. Now I'm going towards what's the name of that guy on Sirius FM or the Howard Stern?
Oh, yeah,
So
yeah.
now I'm going a little more professional.
More professional.
Yeah.
Howard Stern.
Well, that's because like if I said Rogan, it was like keep dreaming, you know. Not that Howard Stern is a closer dream to it, but this is what I mean. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to How Did It Get So Good? My guest tonight. Today,
it's night.
tonight, Matt Johnson, Mr. Matt Johnson. Last time you were here was with some girl that used to work at the radio.
Some girl that we used to do a podcast and yeah.
You did a podcast.
Uh-huh.
You did a fan club. That was like the first, probably the first OnlyFans before OnlyFans even existed.
I don't know. How much can I talk about that without her getting mad?
Well, first of all, you think she listens to this thing? No. Please. So I've been talking about you here and there, especially when we were the Beehive, because I was working out with you.
Yep.
And we'll go over that. Mm-hmm. I feel like Becca again. We'll go over that here in a minute. I was like, oh, so you're dictating how much longer, like how how much time we have. But yeah, and I was working out with you, and then I told you one time, I says, hey, maybe one day you will come down to the podcast, and
I said
here
maybe.
you are.
I said maybe.
You said maybe?
Maybe I'll support you.
I supported you for a couple months, 3 months. Yo, how about one thing I will say is Matt was so flexible in that getting me into workout that because of work, there was some times that I was like, I can't do it. I'm still stuck at the office.
Yeah.
And then you're like, well, we'll do it tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I was working out 3 days a week.
Yep.
And we were trying to do either Monday,
Wednesday, Friday.
Well, first of all, it was
Thursday.
It was
Thursday.
yeah. So it was Monday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Yeah.
And then every time we had to do it on Friday, we were both like, it's Friday, dude.
Hey, I was professional. I never said it out loud.
Okay, maybe I said it. I was like, I just want to go out to the bar.
It makes it harder for people to have excuses if I do that. If I'm flexible and I'm like, okay, cool, we'll do it like this, and then clients can't be like,
shit.
oh man, I was gonna skip. I was gonna skip and
I got a headache. Oh, I got ibuprofen's here.
cool. That's
you got
good.
ibuprofen at the gym. How many is it? How often? I mean, this is a legit question because I'm sure every single personal trainer goes through this. How often is that someone flakes out?
It's usually like once they're pretty comfortable with me.
Yeah.
Then they start to like, oh, I can't do this or I can't do that, and so then I have to like really. I don't know. I don't even know if it's flexible. I just reschedule it,
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, cool. Like we'll go here and we'll go there. So, and I don't know if like, maybe there are clients who are like, dang it. I didn't think you were going to reschedule that.
I guess you're not as busy as you say you are.
Yeah.
How you been?
Good. I've been good. Yeah, like lots of changes in my life, and then just I think growth in my life.
Yeah.
And then just picking up more as it starts to warm up. It starts to become a busy season. So
Is it busier during the summer?
yeah,
I would think. See, that's the thing, because I would think somebody want to work out during the winter, so in the summer they can be like.
Well, I would
take it all off.
say it's spring. I would say spring is busy, and then it
Okay,
starts to slow
okay.
down again. So
I see.
yeah,
It's kind of like probably the total opposite of the gym, right? Because like it was someone that has someone that's been paying for a gym membership for I don't know 7-8 years.
yeah,
You don't want to go January, February.
Yeah.
It's the worst time.
yeah.
Because everybody's like, this is my year.
Yeah.
I mean, guilty as charged, right? I was just like, I'll do it this year. And then I'm like, but like I want to go, but then I go, it's going to be so packed.
Yeah. And a lot of it, like in the personal training industry, a lot of people say in January, number one, they just spent all their budget on Christmas, number one. Yeah. And then number two, they kind of get in there and be like, I got this. I'll do it by myself. And then in February, March, I kind of realize I ain't doing this by myself.
For me, it was easier to have someone that I know is waiting for me, though.
Yeah, exactly.
Like what do you call it? That accountability buddy or whatever.
Accountability. Yeah,
for sure. For me, like even the fact, like when I first started doing the gym, when I first bought my membership, I was going with my sister, her husband, and then another couple who were like very into fitness. And so when I first started, the guy was like. He was like, all right, well, let's just teach you, because the guy was like, way into it, and like he taught me some stuff, right? But then going with making it home and then knowing, oh, there's people out there they're waiting on me, or they're waiting for me to get there. It's like it kind of makes me go, I don't want to be an asshole and not show up.
Yeah, and get to show up.
So I used to, but then Tim, his name was Tim, and then Tim moved out. Tim moved to Idaho or whatever he was from. And then and then my sister ended up getting divorced. Guess it runs in the family.
How do you guys handle awkward? That's great.
Let's call her, talk about it.
Yeah. We have a special guest today.
Yeah, my sister. Guess what? Your ex-husband is here. No, but like, yeah, that helped me a lot.
Yeah,
just to know there was the two guys. And then,
well, like the other benefit is like, okay, you got the accountability, and you have to like you're anticipating you have to show up for someone. Yeah. But then also like as you work with someone that is like in the industry, you also gain like this perspective of like, oh, this is what a workout should be like. You know, this is, I can actually go on and do this by myself, and I know what I'm doing. Because one of the biggest mistakes that I think people do is they go to the gym and they don't really know what they're doing. They're kind of just, I don't know, I guess I'm working legs, so I'll just find everything that works with legs. And they can feel like they got a good workout, but they kind of question themselves at the same time, being like, I don't know if that was the best. Like, but when you work with someone, like you could probably take one of the workouts that we've done and been like, this is what we would do. And you know, like for sure you're going to get results and you're going to make progress with that. Yeah. So I think that's one of the other benefits of like working with a professional is like you actually learn like how to work out and how to have structure in your workout programs. I just don't think people do very good if there's no structure. And if you were to look at people's goals, like if I were to ask like the majority of people, like, you got goals, what's your structure now? Like, okay. I don't know. I was just gonna
wake up, give it 110% every day.
Yeah, they're like, well, I'm just gonna eat good. What does that look like? Yeah. I don't know. No sweets, no carbs.
Well, you're describing me now, so screw you, Matt. What was I gonna say? Does it really happen that you get stronger like fast? Because the reason why I'm saying is this. Obviously, when I type my shit down and then I start going to the gym and stuff, like it takes about a week and a half or 2 weeks maybe to when I start going like, oh, I wasn't able to lift this, so long ago. Yeah. And now I am. And I remember that when you and I started working out, especially on Tits Day, because my chest is like the weakest thing I have. I don't know. I have the chest of a 12-year-old girl. But I feel like, every now and then, like, it was like, okay, it kind of gets easier and easier. And I remember you mentioning, you're like, well, you're actually, like way above what we started with. Yeah. Isn't that fast?
Yeah. So like you have to think about it, like the word training is in there for a reason, because our muscle fibers, like what we're doing is we're training the like nervous system to respond to an external force that we're putting on it. And so and that's why consistency is so important. And if you're like, well, if you don't use it, you lose it. And that's where that kind of comes from in a sense, because if we stop training it, then our body's like, hey, I don't need to recruit as many muscle fibers. I just don't need to do that. That's excessive. So our bodies kind of are really, our bodies are really smart where they're going to say, yeah, that's too excessive. We don't need to use that much energy, so let's calm it down. We're not, our external environment that we're in doesn't require us to fire off that many muscle fibers, and that's a lot of energy for us, so we're not going to do it. So if we're putting ourselves in the weight room and we're training consistently, we're training our body to say, like, this is the external force that we're placing on this on a consistent basis, and how much is muscle recruitment is going to be required for us to do what is being asked of us. So it's kind of like comes into a supply and demand at that point on our bodies.
Is muscle memory a thing?
Yeah, absolutely. Like where the body can really say, like, okay, like I'm gonna start using this, and it just kind of adapts back to what we were doing very quickly. So,
is the workout different to where, let's just say, if I come to you and I say, listen, I just want to shed some lbs, and then I just want to be toned, or if I say, hey, I'm going for a legit bodybuilder, I understand that the nutrition part of it maybe obviously will be different, but like the workout, as in you're starting like the way you and I started, right? All I wanted to do was lose some weight. And if I come to you and I say, no, I want to be a bodybuilder, is it different, or is it basically the same start?
It's the same. It's really the same, because you're both asking the same question, or like wanting the same thing. However, your goal is different. One is looking for a competition, and one is just looking to where I'm feeling at my best. And that looks entirely different. However, the process to do it is you're both asking me, hey, I want to lose body fat so I can look good. Because, like that's the same thing. Exactly what we're asking. So toned. So we put these, like, it went into marketing, I think, like when it comes into fitness, when we start saying, hey, I want to look ripped. Well, that's a man's way of saying I want to lose fat. Women, I want to look toned. Well, that's a woman's way of saying I want to lose fat. They're all the same. So I'm like, but then the marketing side of fitness, we kind of say, okay, so I'm going to create a program that makes it toned, Titan Tone. No guy's going to be like, I'm on the Titan Tone program.
I'm sure your boyfriend will appreciate it.
And then, for guys, it's like, I want to look big and ripped. And really, like, it's all an illusion. Even in bodybuilding, that's something that we talk to competitors about all the time. The way you look on stage, it's really an illusion. And that's why posing matters so much, is because it's such an illusion. Like if a woman comes and says, hey, how do I get really nice arms? I'm like, you mean, how do you get really nice shoulders? I'm like, what do you mean? I'm like, because if I give you nice shoulders and you have like more definition in your shoulder, it kind of gives you that split in your arms, and you think that you have
makes sense.
Nicer ones. So
is there I heard this once, and I don't know, obviously you'll be the right person to ask. First question, I already fired like 100, but the first question from this section: for someone who goes to the gym every day, just a regular Joe, who goes to the gym every day, do you work abs every day? Because I've heard both, yes and no.
I wouldn't. It's still a muscle group. However, you have like different, larger muscle groups and smaller muscle groups, and fast twitch and slow twitch muscle groups, and those can. The recovery rate is different on those, and how much they can handle, like, changes. And your abs are one that can handle a lot. And I would say, what is your goal, or like, what are you trying to accomplish by doing abs every single day? So I always try to teach the fundamentals and kind of the science of fitness when I talk to clients. Are you saying that you think that if you do 100 crunches every single day, that you're going to pop your abs out? You're going to have a six pack. They're like, yeah. I'm like, yeah, probably not true. It's still a muscle. It still needs recovery. The fastest way for you to do that would be maybe twice a week instead. So letting it fully recover, breaking it down, and you're going to get better abs that way. I always say,
That often though?
yeah,
Twice a week?
Yeah, you can do it twice a week because the recovery rate is so different.
Yeah.
And really you could do 3 times a week with the abs.
Mm-hmm.
But your like legs, if you start doing like complete like legs and you're breaking down your legs 3 times a week, with like heavy compound movements and things like that, it's usually not going to be adequate enough rest for you. Some people can do it, but I would say that they're really fueling their body enough for it, and the majority of people just aren't going to want to do that. But if you keep breaking your body down, and you're not letting it have the recovery time, then you're gonna see a decrease in results for sure. And that's and I would say everything in fitness is so subjective, and that's what people don't take in consideration a lot. When it comes to form, when it comes to your approach and what your body can and can't do, it's completely subjective. Like I could tell someone like, hey, yeah, the best way for us to develop your legs is for squat. The next person could come in and be like, hey, the best way for you to do it is leg press.
Yeah.
And if we're looking at the bone structure of like muscle attachment and longer limbs, some are going to have a longer femur. And because of that, it's going to be like, hey, yeah, this one is going to target your legs better than this one. Mm-hmm. So it really depends on that. Flexibility matters. Like there's so much actual subjective things that can kind of come into play that if you're working with a real expert, they can actually break that down for you and make those adjustments for you.
Yeah.
So
Speaking of squats.
remember that one time you did it and shit your pants?
What? I'm just kidding. No. This freaking guy made me do front squats, and I hated every single minute of it because for the longest time, and again going back to being taught, being trained,
Yeah.
or I meant to say being shown and being trained, I always put the bar behind my neck.
Yeah. Back squats. Yeah.
Yeah, and then just do the thing.
Yeah.
You, on the other hand, wanted me to do
Front squats.
this.
Yeah.
And like this. What?
Or cross. We did it with your arms crossed.
Yeah.
Yep.
How are this called? Same.
Yeah, it's the same. It's just the
Arm
flexibility. Yeah.
So I will cross my arms. The bar over here. Gentleman over here keeps adding weight to it every time we do it, and I'm killing my. What do you call this?
The collarbone.
I'm killing my collarbones, and I'm like barely. I'm like it is so. It's so night and day when I can go here and go, oh, watch this, right? Because now. Speaking of my girl chest, when I talk, I will say the strongest part of my body, my legs.
Yeah.
Whether it was because for the longest time I did soccer or whatever, but it always being strong. In fact, going back to that guy that was teaching me how to do the gym.
Yeah.
We did the leg press, right? And I remember we were just doing to see, in between guys to say like, okay, let's put this many, what do you call it?
Plates.
Let's put many plates and then see how many we could go. And we were doing 10, then we were doing 5, then we were doing 3. And I think we got to like 8 like 8 plates and more than that, I think it was.
Yeah.
And he got to do 3.
Yeah.
And he was showing me, right?
Yeah.
And I got to do 5.
Yeah.
And he was like, what? And then we started counting it. It was like over 800 pounds.
Oh yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
that's right, dude. That's right. Now I couldn't walk straight for the next 2 days, but but yeah, those front quads kill me.
Yeah. Well, and I really like people learning how to do front squats because it does take the compression off of their spine.
Yeah. Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, and so it's just such a different angle for you to hit. And what it does is it actually does help train you to do back squats because it teaches you to stay upright in your chest rather than curving it down and putting that weight on your spine. So it kind of strengthens that core also. And again, it's just like different, we're trying to work different areas of the legs. Like you got your quads, your hamstrings and things like that we're trying to focus on different variations. So,
Well, overall, I had a blast.
It was great.
It was fun.
I loved it. I loved it.
And also, we would work out the majority of the time, if not every single time. It was just you and me.
Yeah.
And then, or like maybe I will get there and you have a couple clients that are like finishing up, and
Yeah.
then we'll get going and working out. And we'll be laughing our ass off every day.
yeah.
And we're talking about,
Yeah.
and then I just barely got this job.
Yeah.
So I was talking about it, and you were like, dude, you have a story like every single time
Yeah.
you come here. Well, they haven't stopped, my friend.
I
They
doubt.
just
Yeah,
keep
I don't know
adding.
how they would. Kind of seems like culture at this point.
Now, one thing that I know for a fact I never get right, and that was one of the things that I disappointed you about on when I said, oh, I don't cook.
Yeah.
Now, you started your own business, right? You're a personal trainer,
Yeah.
and then you also take on nutrition.
Yeah.
I remember you made this entire
Meal plan. Yeah.
meal plan for
Yeah,
me,
yeah.
and then I'm like, I don't even know what this means.
He's like a little child. I should have just given you fucking Lunchables.
I have no idea. I'm like, it's so not. Obviously, I was trying to eat healthy, right?
Yeah.
And for whatever I call healthy, but in a way, I'm like when you gave it to me, I'm like, oh, I just don't see me going to the grocery store and buying like a specific kind of yogurt or a
Yeah.
specific kind of whatever. And
I mean, most things are color coded too when you go to the store. Like, it's not, you don't gotta read it, man. Once you learn what they look like, you can just go and grab it.
I never learned colors in English. You should have given me cards.
Yeah, I probably should have just put it all in Spanish.
But I still have to go home and put it together, which I just wouldn't know how. But and then it's funny, and this is where my question is coming, because the biggest question, right? Carbs or no carbs, and then we're talking about macros. Is that what it is?
Yeah, macros.
So macros, and then we're
Yeah.
talking about what's the other one? Not the carbs, but the other one.
Fats, proteins.
Not fats. What's the other name? That I'm like, oh, this doesn't have that many, and I'm like, they usually tell me,
Calories?
yeah, calories.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
doesn't have that many calories, and to me, again, the only way that I know is like, well, I don't count calories. I count carbs, and obviously, I'm in my own stupid world. Like it only
Yeah.
works in my head.
Yeah, yeah.
But that was it's so. What is it? It's carbs good, carbs bad?
Yeah, so first off, let's say this. Like, if there's like a sponsorship that you should get, it should be a meal prep. So if there's a meal prep company listening, I get concerned that he doesn't actually eat. I don't know how he stays alive. So if there's a food
know
prep
what?
company,
You know,
if you could be his first sponsor, that would be great. Are
know
you
what?
sponsored yet?
you know what's funny? You say that today of all days. Now I've been going to work with my chicken, my vegetables, and I'm kind of like meal prepping my own way. Now,
Yeah.
I'm not cooking my meat. I mean, I'll be the first
You
one
just
to
eat
tell
raw
you.
chicken?
No. I just go outside and
You go
you see
Liver
that
King?
video of that guy that's eating a leg?
In the leg?
Yeah.
What leg?
There was a guy in California who got in a train accident, obviously died, right?
Yeah.
His legs just took off.
Yeah.
And then there was this other guy that was obviously homeless.
Yeah.
Grabbed the leg and started chewing on it.
Oh, oh.
That's fresh protein right there,
Yeah,
man,
it
right?
is.
Don't you disrespect. So that's what I was doing with my chicken. No, but I mean, like, I buy the chicken somebody cook.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
hey, don't judge me, all right?
Gosh, I
Hey,
hope it's
don't
good.
judge me, dude. And so I put it together. Obviously, I sprinkle some cheese, and
Yeah.
I take it there,
Great.
and I put it in my microwave, and then
Yeah.
I eat it.
Perfect.
You're like, a little too late, but perfect.
Yeah. Great. Good for you, man.
You know what? If you did that and work out, it would be perfect.
If you were still a client, I'd care more. Great.
It's like, why didn't you just do that before?
Literally explain that to you.
But I don't even know why I was bringing this out anymore.
Because we were talking about like, you know, like are carbs good or bad?
Yeah. So now that's what I'm doing now, right?
Yeah.
But then also you get to hear, oh no, there is such a thing as good carbs or whatever, and then I go, well, I thought carbs were the enemies.
Yeah. And so carbs are good. Like whether you want to debate it or not, like that's the thing is like fitness is one of those areas. And really like if you take your fitness, your mentality, your relationships, and finances, those 4 core areas in your life, those are very strong beliefs in people. And everyone is looking for a foundation to believe in something in those areas. And that's where it becomes like a religion. Like if you're trying to talk to someone about religion and you're trying to convince them of something else or a different belief, like people are going to argue you till you're blue in the face. They're going to throw every article at you and say, this is this and this and this. And so I really don't love getting into debates with people. Like if people want to bring something to the table, I pretty much shut it down. I'm like, cool. I'm glad you have your belief. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, I've been doing this for 17 years. I have helped hundreds of people all across the world. And guess what? Not one of them has been on a diet that says no carbs, you know? And so like, you just have to understand like how the carbs actually work in your body. And that's what people don't really understand. Now, there are a limit to a lot of people on how many carbs they actually need in their body. And, you know, some people, I've had people come in where 50% of their diet is carbohydrates, and that's the only way they get results.
Oh, wow.
And if I would have given them like any amounts of fat, it would have killed them. Like their doctor literally said, like, because this is when keto was really rampant. And they, you know, they said, I would love to do a keto. And I'm like, okay, go check with your doctor. They go to their doctor and said, literally, that would kill you faster than any diet out there. And they came back and be like, you actually should probably have no fats in your diet. And I was like, all right. And it's due to a fatty liver. So if someone has, you know, I've learned over the course of my career, I'm like, okay, like if someone has a bad liver, okay, like let's start taking away fats and increase the carbohydrates and see what happens. And they get better results, you know? So everyone has a different need. And I'm not saying this as medical advice. I'm not telling people like, that's what you should do. This is the diet you should do. That's the benefit of working with like a nutrition coach like me, is I can guide you through that and I can help you find it in a healthy, safe way. You know, a lot of what I do, I've had doctors come to me and I've had people go to the doctors and have their blood work tested. And, you know, we might have someone that comes in with high numbers, and in 4 weeks, totally healthy and normal numbers. And I've done this time and time again. And so like, I'm doing things by like a medical standard, not necessarily by like bodybuilding standard, I would say. You know, I'm not a guy that, you know, I lost a bunch of weight and I'm like, now I can be a trainer, you know? I've literally done 17 years of research of actual people. And I don't think a lot of people realize that. Like, there are gurus out there who are preaching this stuff who have read something that someone else has written, and they literally have no idea who that doctor is and what that doctor actually stands for or who's paying that doctor. And that's what people don't realize. Like, a lot of these things, like, they still come with this like paid, like, hey man, I'll pay you this much if you can go back this diet. And if you say this and you write this article, we'll pay you this amount.
Okay. I
promise you, there's doctors doing that. Like, and that's just how that's how the industry works. That's something that has diluted the industry. So whenever, like, you know, claims come out, for instance, when people were making, it's kind of, everything comes in cycles. I've kind of seen I've been around long enough where I see things fade out and then come back in, you know. And one thing was diet sodas. You know, everyone made a fuss about aspartame. So what I did is you have to have like a medical like access. Like, you can't, the public isn't really able to unlock these medical records of studies of what is the truth and what's actually been done. And so one thing we did is we looked up aspartame, and the amount, of aspartame that you would have to actually drink and have on a daily basis is an ungodly amount of aspartame. Now, I'm not saying that like, hey, diet soda is healthy, and I think that's where people get my message, like, or anytime I say like, it's not what you think, or I'm like, diet soda isn't gonna kill you. Like, I'm not saying, hey, this is healthier than water. Drink more soda than water, you know. But what I am saying is like, it's a scare for you to say it's gonna cause cancer. I'm like, probably not. Aspartame is probably not going to be the thing that's going to cause cancer to you. Is it something that you should drink like an ungodly amount of every single day?
Like, what's that ungodly amount?
I mean, you know, like people who are like, well, I drink more soda than water. Like, the only way I can get my fluids in is if I have 32-ounce soda every day.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, that's for sure going to hurt you. That's for sure going to cause some issues. Not only are you causing dehydration to your body because of the caffeine amount that you're taking in, but like you're not getting properly hydrated with like water, which you need on a daily basis. Your body isn't going to use that effectively, you know? And so, but like, you know, I try to explain to my clients, like, your fear of like being in this situation, being like, should I have a diet soda or should I have one that has a bunch of sugar that is instantly going to cause the issue? You know, I'm like, so let me get this straight. If you see me as a health coach or whatever, drinking a diet soda, you're going to be like, oh, that's not healthy. Like,
Yeah.
But how many people have you seen in the hospital? If we were to go to the hospital right now and we go, how many people are in here because they drink too much diet soda? How many people are here because of liver failure because they drink too much soda?
Yeah.
They'd be like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Right? But if I go in there and like, how many people are in here because of liver failure because they drank too much, because they had alcohol problems?
Yeah.
They'd be like, a lot.
Yeah.
You know, we'd at least find one or two. But like, if I was here drinking like a vodka, no one would blink an eye. Right? And I think
that guy knows how to live.
Yeah, right? He's like, dude, like, yeah, that's totally normal.
That's a successful fella right there.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, I get it. Like, you drink vodka because it's less in calories. It's better for you. Your metabolizes better, you know? But, like, no one would say anything about, like, wow, dude, I can't believe you drink.
Yeah.
Like, I like, that to me is more mind-boggling. Like, there's more evidence, like, physical evidence and things that we see on a daily basis of being like, oh, like, man, that's killing you. Like, but we don't blink an eye with that. But if I have a soda, like I'm drinking, I'm like, and so that's kind of like why I explain this to clients and the logical thought process behind all of this. You know, if you look at bodybuilders, and I'm not saying that they're the most. They're really not as healthy as we like to. Let's not put them too high on a pedestal. However, if you look at their bodies, like all of them are eating carbohydrates. They're the ones that don't eat carbohydrates are not winning the competition ever. Like, you know, you never see that. You never see someone get on stage and be like, that person didn't even have carbs in them, because they would show up completely flat. Their muscles just wouldn't pop on stage. So you just have to understand the science of food and how it works. Like, what is the purpose of carbohydrates? What is it doing to your body? Well, it's putting glycogen in your muscles. So it gets broken down into water. Now, if we eat too much carbohydrates, then our body can't process it. So it stores it as fat, you know? And that's why if you cut them out, why it goes so fast is because it is a fluid, and it just, you know, it just dries us up. You know, so before a competition, yeah, you cut your carbs, and then what we do is we refuel them and put those carbs back on, like before we get onto stage, and our bodies absorb it faster. So there's a whole method to the madness in everything that we're doing. So,
but is there like a difference in between carbs? I mean, are we talking about, oh, people can't have carbs? Does that mean somebody that is going to be a bodybuilder can't just go and bust his ass in the gym, but then come home and eat sourdough bread?
Yeah, I mean, like, essentially, yeah, because he's replenishing his glycogen storages, and we want that. We do want that because it aids in recovery for the muscle. and muscle growth. You know, we get adequate protein and adequate fat, and then we add the carbohydrates in to make sure that it's absorbing and pulling in those proteins, and our body's using it for recovery. And people are like, well, it can do it without it. It can do it without it. It's just much more difficult for the body to do that. You know, isn't as effective way for it to do that. And that's just, I don't know what to tell people other than like, I'm sorry, like I didn't make up the science.
Yeah.
I
just follow it.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know. Like the trick is, and this is one thing that doesn't get talked about when it comes to fat loss, is blood sugar levels. Like learning to control your blood sugar levels is everything to losing fat, to keeping fat off of the body. And over time, like if we've done a bunch of diets and we've created blood sugar sensitivities, then yeah, like you're going to think that you're carb sensitive. You're going to think that you're doing all this, but there's a way to reverse that. And you just have to know the process in doing it. One of the most important parts of bodybuilding is after a show, you have to learn how to reverse diet. And that is ensuring that your body doesn't go, like have imbalanced hormones is to make sure that it doesn't have these sensitivities, and it's to revamp the metabolism, because you are dieting down. You haven't had a lot. So we want to bring that metabolism back up. And that process can be, you know, a long process depending on the person, depending on how the body like goes. So these are all things that like the general public doesn't know, because the fitness is not like, if I were to expose the fitness industry is not really, it's just like any other industry. We don't really have, I mean,
A to Z.
Yeah, it doesn't really have your best interests at hand. It has their interest, which is money, right? So it's easier and better for me to sell you a diet that you get super good results on, and then get fat again, and then come by my round 2. Oh yeah, like I revamped this one. It's this. Now come by my round 2.
Yeah.
That's the money making in the fitness industry. How do I get you to a point where you feel like you have to have my products all the time in order to stay healthy and thin? And so if I come in here and I'm like, you know, this is the truth about fat loss, like this is how it actually works, I would be kind of selling myself out, because like people are like, well, now I know what to do. I don't need you.
I don't need you.
Yeah. You know, and yeah, I mean, that's the way it should be. You know, I would hope that is. Now, the benefit is like when you do that, people learn the importance and the value of accountability and having someone there, and just coaching. Like, hey, like some people, to them, the investment is, I really like the accountability, and I really like that I can just come here and I don't have to think about what I got to do. I can kind of shut off and just go through my workout. I don't have to second guess anything. To me, that's an ongoing investment of, you know, investing in my health, but also one less stress I have to worry about, you know? So.
Speaking of on the, when we talked earlier, if the workout is different for different goals per se, is the nutrition different too? For someone that just wants to, I mean, I guess that was my dumb question, right? But someone that just, or maybe someone that wants to pack muscle, but also or gain muscle, and then someone that wants to be a bodybuilder again, right? We go to the same, but starting from zero. Like if I come to you with both scenarios, is the nutrition different?
Yes and no. I mean, it really kind of depends on like what the overall goal is. So. When we're talking about bodybuilding, you have to remember it's a competition. Just kind of like if someone asks me about CrossFit, I'm like, CrossFit's a sport, you know? I used to be the one that used to hate on CrossFitters, you know, and be like, CrossFitters. But then I was like, no, it's a sport. Like if you treat it like a sport, you do amazing at it. It's just like someone saying, I go to pickleball and I play pickleball. You know, I'm not going to rag on someone and be like, you play pickleball. Unless, you know, whatever. I love pickleball though. I think it's so fun. But like, so when we talk about bodybuilding, it's a competition, it's a sport.
No.
There's an approach to it. And so when someone like does talk to me about that, I'm like, are you ready to enter into the sport of bodybuilding? Because that's how you have to treat it. You eat and you sleep and you train, and everything else goes around that. Mm-hmm. It's not the other way around. Whereas like if it's a lifestyle, it's like, your workouts, your diet and everything, it has to kind of form to everything that you're doing in life. And that's why it's a lifestyle. And people are like, bodybuilding can be a lifestyle. It can be, but again, everything goes around that. And if you talk to like the pros, that's it. Like they'll tell you, like, you sacrifice your family for this. Like it becomes everything. So to answer your question, like when it comes to the diet and the approach on that, it's going to be, well, okay, like looking on stage, you need to build this muscle and this one. So we're going to go into a bulking. We're going to go into a surplus amount of calories. Usually you do have more carbohydrates in that, you're going to have higher amounts of protein, higher amounts of carbs, higher amounts of calories. And because we just want to fuel your body so it builds that muscle as fast as possible. And then what we'll do is we'll strip all of that down. We'll cut all the fat off, and we'll see where we're at. And so it's an ongoing process. And I think that's what I love about fitness is that if someone's like, well, I'm at my weight, like I'm done. I'll be like, no one's ever done. Like there's always another goal. There's always another place you can to make adjustments on. Yeah. And there's always something to like push yourself for the next level. Like for me right now, it's like, okay, like all this last like year and a half, I've been working on like getting my strength up. I've gotten my bench up. Now I'm to the point where I'm like, okay, I'm good with where that is. Now like going into this summer, I want to see like how athletic I can be again. I want to start running. I want to start just being able to go on hikes and doing that while still integrating all of my lifting and things like that. So just being really, really active and doing that and making sure I'm fueling myself for that. So different goal, but it's still a goal, and it's still going to take some work to do all of that.
One of the things that I will say pisses me off is like when I'm trying to lose weight and I'm doing like the whole, low carb shit or whatever. Mm-hmm. And then you post all your shit that you eat and I'm like, what the fuck? How's that even possible? Look at him.
And I think it's funny. Like I post that stuff to kind of prove to everybody like a normal, healthy lifestyle.
Although no one has seen you eating it, though.
That's a good point. I'll post those more on the stories.
I got him. Let's cancel this fucking guy.
He's such a liar.
You know what? I was speaking of nutrition for a bodybuilder. I and a long time ago, I worked. Justin and I worked in this company One, for the people that know. There was a guy that I got in my crew who came in just to help us for a little bit. Yeah. And he went to my foreman and he said, dude, I just big guy, right? Like fit big guy. And then he would say, dude, I'm just gonna ask you something and I hope you understand. And he was like, every 2 hours I have to sit down for like 10-15 minutes and I need to eat. Yeah. And we were like, that's fine. Yeah. Like, whatever. And like and he had wherever we went, he had his lunchbox and it was like this big. Yeah. And he will walk around with us, and he was a hard worker. Yeah. And he will be shoveling, or he will be doing the shittiest things possible, and then he's like, hey, I gotta sit down and eat. And it was like, all right. So someone grabs the shovel, and then he will eat, and he will pound just chicken and rice. Yep. Just every day, like 6-7 times a day.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Like, Jesus.
Yeah. And when you compete, that's your life. Like that is your life, and the reason why
is it like, just that though? Just those two?
Pretty much. I mean, really, you can do other lean proteins like tilapia and cod and things like that, but like for the bang for your buck, you're gonna do chicken. It's the easiest resource of protein and high amounts of protein and lean protein, and rice is just the easiest for the carbohydrates. Yeah, you can do potatoes if you want, but for some people that's a little bit too much fiber and too dense, and their metabolism or their stomach can't handle that frequent in the day. So yeah, I mean, like really, that's what it looks like. I mean, it's a lot, and the reason why is, and when you're doing it serious, you don't want to lose any potential for losing any muscle. So you're keeping it fueled, especially if you're doing hard labor like that. you're like, well, I'm burning calories constantly, so I gotta refeed those. So I gotta eat more and doing that and keeping it fueled.
He was the nicest guy, because you see a guy that is a bodybuilder who's like, look at that douche.
Yeah.
But this guy was like the nicest guy, and every time you see him, he said, "What's up?" and he would like bounce his titties. "What's up, dude?" And I was like, "Hey."
Yeah.
But he was a part of this 4 or 5 guys that were like gym rats.
Yeah.
And there was another one, and shout out to him. He when he was in his 50s, and when he was like into losing weight, he would show up at work, and he would have, and I never heard this before nor previous. It was salmon
Yeah.
and peanut butter.
That's disgusting. But it works. I've never heard that. I mean, I could see why. I just would never do that.
I know, and I was like, obviously I'm a fish guy, so I was like, ooh, I should have a kick. Let me just try it.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Yeah.
But he would eat that like at least 3-4 times a day. I mean 4 times a week.
Wow.
And I was like, really? And he goes, dude, it's so good. And I go, what?
I can see you making it good. I mean,
And also my ex had a girlfriend who also competed before, and when I brought that up to her, she was like, "Oh yeah, I do that too, like peanut butter and salmon."
I've never.
But I'm
heard
talking
that.
about. I'm not even talking about. Your salmon is here and you got a scoop of peanut butter. I'm talking about salmon's here and you spread
it.
peanut butter on
I've
top
never
of it.
heard that one. Although I will say this, like when you are doing that and you're eating that clean, your taste buds change dramatically.
Really? For the good or for the bad?
I think for the better. Like I could take a piece of chicken and just have salt, pepper, and garlic powder on it, and it would taste so good. And it would taste so different from like any other time. Like if I did it right now, I'd be like, that is disgusting. Like it is so hard for me to eat chicken to this day. But like if you did that, like, and you've done it, like your taste buds have changed. Like it just brings out like every little flavor of everything. And so, yeah, like if someone's competing and stuff and they're getting that, like that kind of salty, sweet taste to it, and that's the only way they could do it, then for sure, I could see that being good.
Yeah, I thought it was crazy.
Yeah.
You know what? Another thing that I see is like I don't understand how that works. Going to on the UFC world, MMA fights.
Yeah.
Some fighters go through this huge regimen to lose weight and drop all the weight, whatever. And then they go on the scale, and then they make weight,
Yeah.
and then they're like, let's go celebrate. And then they go eat some fucking tacos and tortas and shit
Yeah.
at a Mexican place. And you're like,
Yeah.
how does that even work?
Yeah. So it's the same thing as a bodybuilder. All they're doing is bodybuilding methods too. Like, you know, they're doing things like where they're boiling their chicken and doing that like right before they're cutting weight and things like that. So
Yeah.
they get all the sodium out of the chicken and everything like that. And then after, what they're going to do is they're going to go load up on carbs the day before the fight to make sure that they are more full and their muscles are actually back to full strength and fully, like, they feel good again. So
Our friend Eric Iman, he's the one who signed those gloves over there.
oh, nice.
He he's like a local legend when it comes to MMA.
Yeah.
Every time he fought, he would train. He would post his pictures of him training for months, and then as soon as he makes weight, his thing was like, everybody goes to eat sushi.
Yep. Yeah, that's a great one too, because you're getting like the fats with the carbohydrates, and it's just such a great one with the proteins. Like that works really great.
Sushi sounds so good right now.
It does. That's why I went and got a Pokeball before here.
That's one of the things that I did before I started. So I've said it here before. I know this is stupid, okay, but I live in my own world. I had I knew that I had a cardiologist appointment.
Yeah.
Because my blood pressure is high, and I thought it was in like May, so I was like, I got time. And then I checked. Now that I'm scheduling people, you was like last minute thing.
Yeah.
It's kind of worked out. But I'm scheduling people, so I'm putting it on my calendar on my phone, and then I look and I'm like, what is this? And it's the 29th. It's this Friday. And I'm like, oh shit! And I'm all, the fuck?
Start running.
I gotta do something. Start running. I'm like, I gotta do something. So that's why but before I started,
Yeah.
I had to like close with a big bang, and I went and got sushi, dude.
Yeah.
I eat sushi. Like I'm
Yeah.
talking about.
See, and that's the thing is like I know like I
I can't do just 2 rolls.
Yeah, exactly. And that's like why I'm like, I have a hard time going to sushi because like the price for 1 roll, I just can't do it. Like I can go to like a place like Fresh Fin
Yeah,
and
yeah.
get a big poke bowl and I'm like, and I feel satisfied after.
Where's that one at?
There's one actually downtown here in Salt Lake on Regent Street, and then other one's off of 123rd in Draper.
I think is it by the Harmons?
No, this one is by like there's Donut Star. Yeah, so it's kind of where like in Draper is by like the Ross in that shopping center.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's kind of it's in there
Huh.
in those restaurants. So there's like Cafe Rio, Astro Burger.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's just in that complex right there. So it's good though.
Sounds
That's
so
my
good.
favorite.
I don't have a good place by the house though.
Yeah.
I have to drive.
Yeah.
I have to.
Just go there like on your way home from work.
But there's McDonald's close to the house. There's Burger King right across the street.
Hey, I know McDonald's is trying to make their like comeback of being healthy and better and whatnot. Like,
But what? You got some intel?
no, I don't know. That's all I know. I wouldn't ever recommend it, but I mean, whatever.
I am such a foodie. You would figure, like I was like at one point in time I'm like I should be a gym rat just so I can eat whatever the hell I want.
That's what I do.
Screw you. Yeah, but it's working for you, man.
It's true.
That's a badass shirt. What is it?
Huh? This one?
Yeah.
What is it? An Empire one? I like it.
Is that an Asian shirt?
I don't. Maybe. I have been leaning more into my culture. I've
Really?
been watching a lot more like shows that are like all Asian cast based and stuff like
Really?
that. Yeah, like, dude, I'm all for it. I'm just.
I mean,
saying.
if that was if that was me, what can I watch? Narcos. Like that's not a good.
No,
Did you watch it?
No, I didn't watch it.
You know what I just got to watch, and it took me about 3 weeks to watch all 5 seasons of it. I finally just got converted into Yellowstone.
Oh, I always mean to watch that.
You haven't watched it?
I've watched a few episodes. I started the first.
I want to buy a ranch. I want to have a chopper to my.
You want to be the white man and buy the land?
Yeah, dude. I want to be the white man. I want to have a shit to the horses.
I think you're on the wrong side of what that show was.
Yeah, people like me, they live out there.
Hey, look, the best thing for us to do is join the white man.
People like me live in their shed. No, dude, you watch that show and you're like, oh, I want all of this.
I know.
But I don't think there's that many. I don't think there are that many ranches like that, right? Like this guy has mountains for ranch, and
Well, I laugh at that because I actually grew up on a farm.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, and I like laugh at people that are like, yeah, I want to live on a farm. Like, I think it would be great.
so much work.
I'm like,
dude.
motherfucker, you can't even get out of bed to go to work out. Like, you ain't gonna get up and feed the
clean
cattle.
shed.
Yeah, you ain't gonna get out there every single day and work labor. Like, bullshit. Like, what, you're gonna
Literally
hire?
bullshit.
Yeah, you're gonna hire someone and be like, go do whatever you're supposed to do because I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. Like, no, like,
It's so much work.
yeah, it is
I mean,
so much work.
obviously in the show it's all made up, right?
Yeah.
But then this guy just Kevin Costner,
Yeah.
he's like, hey, let's just gather all those cows and put them over here.
Yeah.
And they wake up in the morning, like for some reason every single episode these motherfuckers are awake at 4:00 in the morning. They're like saddling up their horses and shit.
It's true,
and that's
though.
like a regular thing.
Yeah, and you're like, oh, the fence is broken, and you're like, you're gonna go fix a fence? Like, you ain't done shit in your life. Like, you have not done hard labor for a minute of your life, and you're gonna go fix a fence? Not only that, but you're gonna have to like ride your horse to figure out where the fence is. Like dude, come on. Like,
You gotta watch it. You gotta finish it.
I know, I do. It's a good show. I do like it.
Such a good show.
I was actually going, so, like, because I do the acting and modeling here and there.
Right.
One of the last.
I have a poster of you in my room. I hope you don't mind.
And it looks like an Asian boy band poster. It's kind of weird, but.
I just put your picture on BTS's bodies. But all 7 of them is your picture.
It's kind of weird, man. I don't know. That's good. Would have been better if I at least signed it, like
one of them you have pink hair, the other one you got earrings.
Yeah,
They're
it's weird. I don't know. Had it you photocopied it so it doesn't look like cutouts anymore. It's like one.
I started working out with Matt Johnson, and this is what came on the app.
This is what happened. But one of the I got they were doing an episode, or I don't know. I think it was one for Harrison Ford's, because you know how they're doing kind of the whole history of that family. They have 1860 whatever.
Yeah.
So it was gonna be for one of those series, and apparently one of them was talking about how there was an Asian camp during one of the civil wars.
Oh shit, dude.
So I literally went down to Moab and I got fitted for it, and I got to see the whole wardrobe, and it is absolutely insane.
Really?
I've never seen anything like that. That was my first time being on something probably as big as that.
Yeah.
For a studio. It's insane. You go into this warehouse and there is just so many costumes, and you'll say, yeah, I'm Matt, I'm here for this role, and they're like, cool, let's fit you on this, and they're just fitting all of these literally old pioneer clothes on you, and then making these fittings just for your cast. So unfortunately it didn't work out because the weather.
There was a better looking Asian in there.
Yeah, they were like, dude, you don't look that. They don't look that. I know we're looking at a camp, and that's about where you don't fit.
You're Korean? No, dude, that's not what we're looking for.
And I was just hoping to be on on a set with Kevin Costner or Harrison Ford. I was like, that'd be cool. But the weather made it so bad. They would literally were having me travel back from Draper to Moab back and forth. Otherwise, I had to pay for my own hotel. And I was like, it was Halloween too, and I was like, dude, I got a son. I can't do this, man.
Hey, your son, dude. Who cares? Dude, you gotta make this money.
I know, right? But yeah, so it didn't work out. But it was cool to at least get to that process and do that.
Get the taste of it.
Yeah.
I told you my story about being a.
Wait, on the what?
I told you my story about being an actor, right? I think I did. I went and this is 2008. I lost my job, and he was like
So
doing
that. Next step,
and I'm like, hey, I'm about to fulfill my dream. And
I watched this movie, and I watched this guy go from losing his job to fulfilling an acting.
It almost worked out, dude. All right, somebody fucking ruined it for me. But no, I went and I started. I think it was, I want to say Craigslist. I mean, this is well. Hey, listen, I'm not at your level, dude.
And the next thing he knew, he was on a couch
I was
naked.
on a couch, yeah. And I was like, what is going on with all these guys?
For some reason, it didn't work out. I don't know.
We did a Mexican on our ranch. I'm like, that's fine. That's cool. No, but I went to audition at the library.
Okay.
And it was the director, and then I remember I stood there, and then I see all the scripts.
Yeah.
Right. And then I remember just I was like, that was a girl, that was a neighbor, I was like, fuck it, dude. And I grabbed this one, and I started reading it, and I go inside. So I was in between two. One of them was like a rugged guy that was kind of like a sinister kind of guy. Mm-hmm. He was like the creepy guy. What I was like, well, I have long hair. I'm like, I can play that shit. But then I'm like, fuck, I just picked this one. And I go inside and I did my thing. Like I sold it. I overdid it. I was like, who cares? They don't know me. I don't know them.
Yeah.
And the guy was like, oh, okay. This is your first time? I'm like, yeah. And he goes, okay, that was pretty good.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, thank you. And he was like, we'll call you. And I said, okay. I went home, the next day it's like, hey, do you want to be in the movie? Like we want you. And I'm like, oh yeah. And that's when he told me, you know what character you're playing, like who he is? I'm like, no, I just read the little thing. This guy was like, he was like, that's the main character of the movie.
Oh shit.
And I was like, I was in between that and this ugly guy. And he was like, no, you picked the right one. I was like, okay, cool. Then the director told me there's only one thing. He said, you said that you're married. I was like, yeah, I'm married. And he goes, well, in your character has to pick up a naked girl in the movie. Are you gonna be okay? Is your wife gonna be okay? I'm like, yeah, dude. I'm like, yeah, she'll be fine. And so, long story short, we went on the east side of the by the mountains and stuff, and there was like about a park and ride, and then they started filming in the woods, right? And it was this girl with this guy, and something had happened by then that they were running through the woods, and then they would stop, and it was like everything's gonna be okay. They were both scared. They kiss. And then they hear a snap, like a branch snap, and then they keep running, right? As the movie goes by, I mean, as the movie industry goes, you shoot that same thing 3-4 times. Yeah. And so they did it over and over again. Then they will do it again on another spot when they will have to kiss, and then we'll do it on another spot. And I was just walking. I just wanted to see. Yeah. Director goes and he says, hey, we're going to go to lunch. He says, when we come back. And then he said, when we come back, we start shooting with you. And I was like, yeah, that's fine. Yeah. I went to lunch. I came back. The girl, that was the main girl, had called her bishop and she said, well, I'm kissing this guy that I don't know. Yeah. Like, I want to do this movie, and I want this to be my life. But obviously the bishop was like, no, you got to get out of there. Yeah. What are you doing? Oh my gosh. And so when I came back I'm like, hey, heroes here, about to save the day. And then I get there, I'm like, where's my makeup at? And then the pissed off look on the director's face, and he was like, the girl just quit. And we were like, what? Yeah. He was like, yeah. And I'm talking about like cameras, like the whole camera suit that you put on when you're running, but the camera stays still. Yeah. Like that. There was a girl that was wearing it. I mean, the whole 9 yards. Yeah. And she was, and he was like, yeah, she quit. So the whole thing is on a standby. Yeah. Like, wow. Okay. And then I never heard of it again.
Oh my gosh.
Like, you bitch.
That sucks.
She's probably married with kids and all that stuff.
I had this opportunity, but I turned it down for the Lord.
Yeah. You ruined it for all of us, dude. God damn it. Next thing I know, I was the new Lou Diamond Phillips. I know he's Asian, but, you know, they say I look like him.
You know, it's funny that like, you're like, oh, like I just go in there and I'm just like, I don't know. They don't know me and don't know. Yeah. But I've really learned in like acting, it's like, you're actually the weird one if you don't oversell it. Yeah. You know? And
yeah, you don't want to be like...
It was like, no, that's what they're expecting of you. Like, I had this, like, test reel for... they were going to do a live action, like, I don't know, like, some anime, like, one. And they're like, we just need, like, kind of a bigger, buff Asian to do this role for this, like, because it's a martial art one. I was like... And then I was like, okay. And they were like, we just want you to, like... Just kind of like you're building up energy and then yell and like let it all out.
He's did Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah, it was something like that. I didn't even know what it was. I was like, all right. And so like in my mind, I was like, man, this is so weird. It was only me. They didn't have any other actors because it's a test reel. So I'm like doing this and they're like, yeah, we just want you to just let it all out. And like there's a whole crew and it's just like all on me. And in my mind, I'm like, this is super weird. But if I don't give it my all, they're going to be like, what did we just hire? Yeah. You know? So
just wasted our time.
Yeah. And so, like, I literally just was, like, letting it all out and just, like, doing it. And they're like, dude, that was awesome. That was perfect.
Dude, it's so weird. It's so weird.
It is. And I have to even remember that, like, when I do an audition, like, I had a conversation with my agent, and she was just kind of like, you know, like, when you do it, like, you're not really selling it. Like, we've had people, like, who... have done auditions for like a war movie and like he's like running and then and like talking as if he's like out of breath the whole time, and it's like, but you're trying to like say it and like like act it, but you're not like really acting. Like you have to get into your character. And I was like, that light bulb really like hit me, and I was like, oh, that makes so much more sense, like to do that. And it's kind of like the same thing as like if you go to a dance and you're the person not dancing because you're like, I feel awkward dancing. It's like you look more awkward standing than you do dancing at this point. You know, it's like I have to remind myself that like wherever you are, like sometimes we don't want to like let that part of ourselves out because we're like, what about judgmental? Like, what about that? And we kind of like don't realize that we're putting ourselves in the one spot that we don't want to be, you know? And it's like, you know, like when you're at places, like there's people expect you to be in that environment doing the thing that they're all there wanting to do. Like, and it's funny because you're kind of giving people permission to do that also. So
do you still pursuing that?
Yeah. I haven't really done much lately. I don't know what it is. Like, it's hard for me to like. You get the auditions and they're like, we need this by tonight. And for me, like just getting in gear to like do an audition, like for me, I'm like now I don't feel like it, and so I've got to get back into the routine of doing it. And so, which, you know, when I first accepted this, I thought I was only going to do modeling because the only reason they even reached out to me was I started doing a lot of photography and posting it on Instagram, and they were more like poses and like just, you know, you've seen like the things that I post and stuff like that. And so
follow his OnlyFans, by the way.
Yeah, my OnlyFans is but like then all of a sudden it was like I'm acting, and I was like, well, I didn't really anticipate acting. I thought we were just doing modeling, and so I didn't have to do all this stuff. Like, and it's funny because I've only done a few modeling things, and the rest have been like acting. So,
is there a lot of projects going in here in Utah?
Yeah,
really?
Yeah, all the time. There's always something going on.
I guess if you count, like, I mean, Utah's been known to be in almost every fucking movie because of like the places that we have around here, right?
Yeah. Like there's studios all the time, like doing commercials and things like that. Like we produce a lot of commercials. I think I heard that Kevin Costner's even looking to build a studio like down in St. George.
Oh, damn.
So I don't know if that's true or not, but I mean, Utah is a hot spot for a lot of things.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But I think, I mean, obviously I don't know, but I think it's because of the places that we have here, right?
Yeah.
Like what's that movie? Something Quest something with
what was that? Space Quest?
Sigourney Weaver.
Yeah.
And Tim Allen.
Yeah.
With all the like it was I think it was Goblin Valley.
Yeah, it was
right?
Goblin Valley. So actually, like people don't like realize like there's like Hallmark. They shoot here a lot.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Like the Hallmark movies, like most of them are always shot here.
Do you care what it is?
I kind of do, like, but like you kind of have to just get it and do it and kind of get into that. I mean, you got to take what you can get and like build yourself up. Like you have to build your resume, you know, and show that you can do it. For me, like I was explaining like to my agent that I don't really love like all these sarcastic like fake comic like scripts because they're not funny. Like I don't read that and be like, that's hilarious, and trying to act that out and be like that. I mean, like they're so cheesy and dumb lines that I can't really get it out of me to do it.
Well, you should have seen your boy after I nailed that performance, and then you know this bitch crushed my dreams. I'm like, what's the obvious thing to do? I was like, well, I'll do it again.
Yeah.
And then I went to another one, and it was like in a building, I want to say around 21st South and something like it was like an apartment complex, but they have like a little studio there. And then I went, but that was like more legit because when I got there, I'm like, oh, I'm here, obviously, you know, with the experience that I've had, right? It's just like, hey, I'm just here for and they're like, oh, do you have headshots? I'm like, excuse me,
what's that?
Headshots. I'm like, I don't know. What
yes,
that
please.
Is. I'm like, oh, I think I got one on my Facebook.
On my Facebook.
Like you need, and that lady was like, she was like, I think you have a good face features. You got good face features, but you gotta get your headshots.
Yeah.
And then one of my friends, the one who took that photo, he's a legit photographer.
Yeah.
And I asked him, and he was like, I'm like, can you do? He's like, yeah, for like auditions. I'm like, yeah, I can do it. I was like, okay, how much? He was like $300. And remind you,
Yeah.
I didn't have a job back then because
Yeah.
the whole recession took a shit on me. And I go, oh, well, I can't afford this. And so I never did it again.
Yeah. Yeah. And usually when you do headshots, there's multiple things. Like,
Yeah.
you know, you're doing like different, like you're wearing different clothes and things like that, and doing those. I that's one thing I get hung up on too. My agent's like, do new headshots. I'm like, I don't really want to invest in this. Like, it's not like my career.
It's not cheap though.
No, it's not, and it's not something I'm very like much like if it's not something that I'm like really pursuing and like plan to be my career, I'm not gonna like get fully invested in it. You know, I will say like one of the bigger roles that I played in was for a kids YouTube channel that I didn't even know was big. And, like they're like it's for a YouTube channel and they have like millions of subscribers and yeah, like you're basically just in a karate dojo and you're acting like a karate master, and I'm like, all right. I get on set and
That's so stereotypical though.
it really
Like
was
now, how long ago was this?
just like a couple of years ago. I'll have to send you the clip because it's
We'll
actually
post it on our Instagram page.
yeah, seriously. So I get there and it's the Ninja Kids. You know who they are?
Wasn't there the 3 of them?
Yeah, there's a girl and then 2 brothers. They're siblings, and they actually own like a karate dojo here in Utah.
Oh, I don't think I do.
So they're huge. Like, and my son was like, "What? The Ninja Kids?" And I was like, "What?" I was like, "How do you even know who these
Isn't
are?"
that sad how they know more than us?
Yeah, I was like, "How do you know that?" And they're like, "I can't believe you got to meet the Ninja Kids and be on there." But like they have like stuff in Target, like they have toys in Target and stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
And there's like right now, like if you go on the freeway, there's some billboards and stuff like meet and greets with them and stuff like that. They're a big deal to the kid community here, and they have like a whole ninja gym like here.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, like, and I just saw it like a couple days ago somewhere. But like, yeah, I had no idea how big they were. But I show up there and they're like, "So, here's your lines." And I was like, "What?" And they're like, "Yeah, you got till like 1 o'clock today to memorize them."
Oh, shit.
I was like, "Dude, I didn't know this is what we're doing." Like, and so I had to memorize these lines, and it was just. I think that they might have been a little bit disappointed in me because not only that, but like when I got there, like it really wasn't like they weren't very good at like clarifying like to me like what they were actually wanting, because I read the script and I'm like, okay, and I presented that and they're like, no, and totally switched it on me, and I was like okay. But yeah, then the YouTube video like came out and like it took a long time for it to come out. Like,
Really?
I didn't see it for the longest time, and like I think a year later is when I saw it. And like me and my son were like we're sitting at we went on like a trip to like Salt Lake on a staycation, and I get this link and I was like, oh, the video's here. And it's like, yeah, it's like he just loves it. He loves that I was able to do that.
I just did before the year was over, I did a video for our company. They wanted to have, basically they wanted to have diversity on the video. So when they asked me for it, it was like in the probably in the late spring last year. And I said, they just want someone that's out in the field, and maybe they'll just give you something to say, and then you say it and you'll be on a video, like on a training video, whatever. And I was like, I'm on a fucking video here every week. I'm like, that's fine, whatever. I'll put my own fucking spice in there.
Yeah.
And I never heard.
And this is what we do not.
This is why safety is whatever. Fuck it. I went blind after I said it. This is what safety is important. That's what I wanted to say. And so I never heard back.
Yeah.
And then I got this last July. I got the job at the office, and the safety guy that was putting the video together, it's in that building.
Yeah.
And so he's like, hey, remember that thing that we? And I was like, oh yeah. And he goes, well, we're doing it. And I said, oh, but I'm not in the field anymore.
Yeah.
And he was like, here's the thing. Now that they gave me the green light to do it,
Yeah.
and now that they're pushing for it, I'm like, instead of me finding someone else, He's like, I'd rather go with you to a fucking job site that doesn't even belong to us and just film this thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, that's cool. Long story short, we find this job site that it was from our sister company. We found it. I get in there, and that's when I get so they have like a legit film guy, like he does videos and stuff. He actually I actually met him. I got to spend some time about this. I got to spend some some ideas of tell him about my ideas. He's like, yeah, you can do this. He's very knowledgeable when it comes to equipment.
Yeah.
And so I sat there, and he has like the tripod and the very expensive looking camera, and the camera has like a microphone, like a cable that plugs into a microphone. It has a boom, but then I also wearing a microphone that is hidden. I mean, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah.
And so I did the thing. I'm talking about. I say something max 10 seconds of a line.
Yeah.
I did it like 6 times.
Yeah.
In like 2 different spots. And so then I'm like, oh, okay, so we're good. So I shook her hands. I went back to work. Mm-hmm. A week after that, I look at the guy, our safety guy, and I said, so how did that go? And he goes, you're not going to believe this. And I go, what? And he goes, you will think that the safety guy would catch this, speaking of himself. And he goes, but you were wearing regular people's glasses. And I need you to be wearing safety glasses. I was like, are you shitting me? He goes, yeah, dude. So we got to do it again. And so when he said do it again, he's like, in a couple of days, I'm going to pick you up. We're going to go to the same spot. And we're going to. I'm like, are you shitting me? He's like, yeah, we got to do it again. I was like, oh, my God. And then I go back, and I'm like, okay, well, I have my safety glasses. And he goes, no, it'd be better if you wear clear safety glasses. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
So now I'm like this, sun on my face. I'm like this in the video because I can't see. And again, I have a 10-second line.
Yeah.
And I have to do it over and over and over again, different spots, same guy. He's like, hey, we could have caught this before. I'm like, motherfucker.
Yeah. I think the biggest disappointment when I first got into the industry was learning, number one, like how long you were on set for and doing nothing. Absolutely nothing. Like you're just sitting in a small room, like waiting. And then they come and use you, and then they'll put you back in the room. and so then like I get so excited to see the final product.
Yeah.
Because it was for a supplement. This was my second gig ever. And it was for a supplement company that I loved. Like, I was like, oh, I love this brand. Like, I use this all the time. And then I get the final cut. They cut all my parts.
Oh, dude.
I was like,
that is the worst.
Yeah. I was like, oh, like, that was such a wake up call. I was like, and I got paid like little to nothing for that.
Yeah.
And I was like, I spent my entire day on that set, bored as hell, for nothing. And then like this one time we did one for and it's funny because I bet this summer, like if you watch commercials, you'll see this commercial. I saw it last year, and I was like, I went to my agent. I was like, hey, did you know they're still like using this commercial? Like, I'm not getting royalties on this. Like, you it was for a 1 year use. No offense. I forgot. Maybe I should be careful of names. Bleep that out.
No, I'm not bleeping shit. You're going down, dude.
So, anyways, like that day, like I had Tyken with me, and we were so pumped. Like we were like, this is gonna be so fun. Like me and him in a commercial together. We sat in this room literally all day long, and he was falling asleep. I was falling asleep. Everyone, like with their parents and their kids in there, like we were just all like starting to complain. We're like, this is ridiculous. Like we have been here for so long. Like, why did you call us onto set for so long? Like, this is so ridiculous. And like when I first got the cut, like the final one, they cut all the people out. Like they cut everyone out, and everyone was just like, you didn't even use us. And like I had to ride Wild Mouse over and over and over again, and you didn't. And I was like, I was on the worst.
I guess
ride.
I didn't even think of that. If you're doing something for that, you gotta be writing over and over.
Yeah,
and over again.
they get done and like, do it again. I was like, why are we
They're
doing
like,
it?
wow.
They're like, there's not time with that one in the background. I was like, I don't think we're gonna get this, man. I was like, there's some start times that are not on point right now.
How's your kid doing with the hockey?
Great, he's loving it. He's progressing and like he's so good. Like
Yeah.
for someone that's just like kind of just picking it up for this first year, like I don't know the sport of hockey. Like I know nothing about it. Like I still don't know. I'm just like watching it and I'm like, oh, this is what it's like when you're a female and you're watching a sport that you don't know anything about. I get it. I can understand their frustrations. Like, how do you know this? Like, how do you know what's going on?
So Justin is he's a hockey fanatic.
Yeah.
Like he really likes it. I was at the Grizzlies game. In fact, I'll be at the Grizzlies game this Friday.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, our work is taking us back again. We kind of have to do some work.
Yeah.
We kind of have to do some like a job fair kind of thing.
Okay,
trying to recruit people.
Yeah.
But you get to watch the game for free.
I love that.
It's like, yeah, I'll do it.
Well,
and also we're so many people that, you know, like this last time I lucked out. Hopefully, I'm the same way.
Yeah.
Because I got there, and I had like the first shift.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, by the time I got there, the girl that I was supposed to meet there, she already had it done.
Yeah.
So it was just like literally just doing like the final touches. And then I stood there for like 20 minutes greeting people. Hey, would you like to, you know, maybe you looking for a job in construction?
Yeah.
Take this with you. And then we had like a bunch of goodies. It was like, yeah, take whatever.
Yeah.
Take some glasses, take this. And then after that, I went to the game.
Yeah.
And being the first one was awesome because once I did that, then I went to see the game.
Yeah.
And then I never had to worry about that again.
Yeah,
Because
you're
then
done.
on the second shift, all the people went, and on the third shift, all the people went.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
So it was like, oh, I did it
chill.
before the game started, and then I can go. And,
That's the best way to do it.
yeah.
No, we're actually so next week is spring break. We're actually gonna go down to Vegas
Oh, okay.
and watch the Golden Knights.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So
Now the Golden Knights is that legit
NHL.
NHL?
Yeah. 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 So it'll be his first time. His favorite team is the Golden Knights.
Okay.
So it's his first time seeing them play. So it'll
See,
be really cool.
When I went and watched the Grizzlies, I was like fascinated how fast they are, and then Justice like, dude, this is nothing compared to the NHL.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you're not seeing anything, dude.
Dude, it's crazy. Like he's 8 years old, and we can put on an NHL game, and he knows all the players. Like he knows all the players more than I would know someone on the basketball court. And I'm like, dude, how? Like he can just be like, I got their card, and he'll be like, that card I have his, and it's like an autographed one. And I was like, dude, like this is incredible
Yeah.
that you at 8 years old knows all the teams and like almost like stat wise. Like he's like, this team lost and this team. I'm like, dude, for 8 years old, like this is
Yeah.
pretty amazing. And you just picked this up over the last year. Like
Yeah.
it's crazy to watch him. And he loves the Grizzly games and things. So
Nice.
yeah.
I've been trying to get me some nice Grizzly gear, but it's either too expensive or not that good looking.
Dude, this kid already has Grizzly jerseys. He already
Yeah.
has Golden Knight jerseys. Like he's just decked out in hockey gear. He has the old school like Mighty Ducks like from the movie
Oh,
The
okay.
Conaway.
Yo, there is a documentary. We Justin and I talked about it here a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
It was called. I can't remember what it was called, but it was about a hockey team. It was called the Trashers.
Okay.
And this guy in like a rural place in here in the United States, he owned a garbage company, a garbage disposal company.
Yeah.
With the trucks and everything. But he was doing that to he was either a drug dealer or was doing money laundering.
Oh.
But then he let his son own a legit hockey team,
Oh wow.
and they became so good because they had the money to buy the right
Yeah.
players, like players that will retire, like the same year to retire. Is like, I want to give you this much, and like the thing. I mean, the whole thing is badass because obviously at the end, it's it's history, right? So they
Yeah,
got
yeah.
caught and everything. But like the things that they did to become who they became,
Yeah.
it's fucking crazy. And like
That's
Justin
awesome.
was telling me this, I'm like, okay. I'm like, I didn't even care for it much. I'm like, oh, okay, we'll see. And then I watched. I'm like, this is pretty badass. And
Yeah.
like, and even their jerseys was pretty cool because it was a garbage can.
That's
That it was
awesome.
like when it was like open, it had
Yeah.
eyes, and then he had what is it, the stick?
Yeah.
Is that what it's called, the stick?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was pretty cool. It was a good one.
That's awesome.
But yeah, they talk about just people beating the shit out of each other, sending them to the hospital. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just crazy.
I tell
stuff.
him all the time. I'm like, dude, be ready to lose a tooth.
That's right.
Get a black eye. Like, he's like, no. I was like, yeah, dude. Like, the odds of it are pretty high. Like,
So have you been to the Grizzlies then with him?
Yeah.
You see how they get smashed on the wall?
yeah,
They're just fucking.
yeah, just like smash. I was like, dude, I as a dad, like, you know, I'm like, okay, cool. Like, we're gonna play football, like baseball, basketball, like do all these sports, and like I can do all of those things. And then he's like, hockey, and I was like, man, I mean, I can skate. I can't hockey skate.
Hockey skate,
You
yeah.
know, like I can't.
insane.
I was like, I'm like 36 years old trying to teach myself a whole new sport. That's a little late at this point. Like, I'm really late to the game at this point.
Yo, what's the latest on? If you could talk about it,
Yeah.
on that whole deal you got.
On the Exodus, like the
Yeah.
anti-human trafficking. Well, that's what I was like telling you, like when I came in. Like, it's funny to go down these streets and to go down and look at like where we were and the things that I had experienced on these corners with
Yeah.
these homeless men and women, and the things that I saw
Yeah.
traveling it. And looking back at it, like in the moment, I'm like, yeah, we're safe, like we're good, like we're protected and things like this. And then coming out and like being like, oh, like who you're working with was probably a con artist, they lied, like you probably weren't as safe as you thought you were. Like, I was the bodyguard, and I was like, we're good. You know, like, I mean, I integrated myself with these people. Like,
Yeah.
they knew my face. Like, they knew who I was. We talked to some of them on a regular basis, had deep conversations. Like, I learned so much about how this world works outside. Do you know much about it, or?
No, I mean, if I know anything, it would be nothing compared to what's
Well,
really going on. Out
Well,
there.
there's, I mean, it is a community. It is literally a homeless community. There's rules and ways that it works.
Oh wow.
There is, I believe it was either, I think it's Mama June or Red. Anyways, she's kind of like the mom of all this community. Like,
Okay.
if you want information, that's who you go to, but you have to go find her. And that's the trick, because they will move. And we had some conversations with her, and she's willing to give you information about where people are. People know where people are, and you ask certain questions. You're like, do you know this person? We're like, oh, I think. And it's just like this big puzzle piece that you're trying to figure out all the time. And it's crazy to just like integrate yourself into that world, the way that their minds work, and like all of these things. And, like, we're always looking for women that are being trafficked, and we did find, we found multiple that were. And so, like, I can't say that we didn't ever do good work, because I was involved in these operations, per se, where we did find, like, girls who were being trafficked, and we helped them get out and, go find a better place. The problem is, that's all I know.
Yeah.
I don't know anything else. I don't know if that's actual, like, where are they? I don't know. Like, I'm not, that is above my pay grade, per se, Anyways, that whole thing is just, it's crazy to, like, think about, because I think, like, the whole theme of my life right now is just kind of unveiling, like, some realities of life. Like, and you kind of wake up and you kind of just like, I don't know what was true. I don't know it's just like such a delusion at that point when you've been working on something that you're so passionate about. And I've been very boisterous. Like I still have, you know, the old memories on social media pop up and like I can read like how passionate I was about anti-human trafficking. And then, you know, like how much I talked about it and said like, we're doing so much good work. And then when all of a sudden that glass is like shattered and you're like, did we though? Like that is probably, that's the hardest part about it for me. It's like not only do I look like a fraud, but also like what did we do then?
Yeah.
Or was I participating in something that I thought I was fighting against? That's the scary thought for me, you know, is the possibility of like, where did they go? You know? And nobody knows. No one has the right answers. And seeing it's like when I you know, I was the closest person to Candace. And like talking to the AG and they're like, hey Matt, like, yeah, we were about to come and get you. You were the last one because we didn't know how close you were to her. And I'm like, yeah, like I'm close to her, but like not in that way, not in the way that you guys, like this is all news to me. Like, and I was kind of the big whistleblower in all of this. And like, I kind of set the whole domino effect for everything that's happening only because I was getting bombarded with people being like, Matt, this isn't what you think. And I was like, listen, I don't know. And I'm not a person to be like, you know, for me, like the most important thing for me is like, I'm a straight shooter. I'm like, I don't got anything to hide. I don't got anything to lie about. So if you're coming to me with rumors, I'm going to take that to the person and I'm going to discuss it.
Yeah.
And I told them and they're like, we really don't think you should. I was like, oh, I'm going to, because I'm not a person to hold on to this. I don't do this. And so anyways, like I did that and the whole thing just kind of started being put into motion, and in the air you could feel something weird was happening when I was like kind of like going through the motions of explaining and confronting people about it. I could tell like something just felt different. And when it all happened, I was like, oh, this is bad, you know. And like prior, like a month before all of it happened and this all went down, I was like already telling Candace, I was like, hey, I'm going to separate myself. I really need a lot of distance from you. I was like, my biggest advice to you is fix your shit. Like, I don't know what you got going on. I don't know what it is, but there's some heat on you and you need to go fix your shit. But for me and my safety and my sake, like I got to separate from you. I don't know what you're involved in. I don't know what's going on, but I'm out, you know? And so anyways, so, you know, she's still in jail. They just pushed it to a pretrial, like to go in, what is it, June? So she's in there till June. No bail. So yeah, like for me, like now it's kind of like what is true and what's not true. And like what was sad for me is that I went to every nonprofit that we were involved with and that were friends at this point. And I had to tell them, I was like, I'm sorry. Like, I just I can't trust any nonprofit. Like, that's just like where I am personally. I'm not saying that you guys are bad or like not doing. I was like, but my trust has been broken so much. And I've given the last 3 or 4 years of my life to a nonprofit that has completely been a fraud.
Yeah.
And like, and it's hard because like, I want to speak up for like trafficking. I want to speak up to be like, you know, like human trafficking is bad and like we know it's bad. However, like I can't really stand on it. Like I can't really speak on it because I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Because like for me, what happened was everything got so jaded, being like, is it like I'm not saying like I'm not questioning whether it's right or wrong, but the fight against it, like it's such a mind fuck at that point because it's like, but whose side am I really on and fighting? Yeah. I don't know, because if one becomes corrupted by the money that's involved in human trafficking, they're no better for what they're doing in this fight. And that's what you're seeing right now. like you're seeing it here in this state. Like you're seeing like once the money becomes so corrupt in this person, like I don't know, it becomes a weird. It's like kind of like what I would see as reverse racism in a sense. You know, you start fighting it, but then all of a sudden you're like, well, now I hate white people. I'm like, well, now you just got reverse racism, you know? And so like it becomes so convoluted that there's just like, I don't know. And so like the best thing for me to do is just step out of it and just let it all be. And being like, I don't know. Like I know I'm against human trafficking, but I know that it's no longer my fight. I know that like it's no longer, I can't have it without having this jaded belief and mistrust in it. And that's like really sad because I had a lot of people after who are great people who reached out and said like, hey, come be a part of this one. I was like, I can't. Like my mind is so.
But do you miss it though?
I don't know what I miss. You know, and I think that was kind of like part of my own healing journey in life in general of being like, okay, it was kind of weird at that point. It kind of set a trigger in my own life that kind of stripped me of everything. Because suddenly I'm like, well, I don't really know who I know who I am, but again, like, I don't know what it is that I do in life. You know, am I a fitness trainer? Am I an activist? Am I a social media influencer? Am I like, I really struggled with like everything that I was doing. So part of my identity was like lost in a sense. And so, you know, as the new year came in, I said, everything is ground zero. I have to start everything at zero. The foundation that I do know that I have is fitness. And so I'm going full blast on fitness. Relationships, people, like everyone's at a zero because I don't know who I can trust. Like I literally looked at my life and I was like, the most core people in my life since my divorce are people that I don't feel like I can trust. You know? And so for me, that becomes like, okay, like I have to reestablish like what this looks like for me and like what it is that I need in my life. Like everything just became so focused. And I was like, the foundations that I do know is that I have had fitness as a foundation and I have my son. Those were the two only definite things that I knew that I had that I could trust on or rely on. And so going through this process, I realized that I was doing so much because I had this like wound in me to need validation from people. Because I was never validating myself in anything that I was doing or accomplishing. And that's due to all of my upbringing as a kid, you know, like, these last few years I've really like dove into that and I've like really acknowledged like, hey, like when you like were adopted, you have to realize that you were adopted because your father left your mom and she felt like she couldn't take care of you. So she put you up for adoption. There's an abandonment number one. Growing up with parents who really weren't there and like having like my mom like basically provided the needs, but emotionally wasn't there. Like, and a dad who was not really present or really involved.
This is the adopt.
Yeah, adopted. Yeah. And so
what do you call you? Foster parents? No, what do you call
no, the adopted parents. Yeah. Okay. And so like growing up and like, and you know, like, and it was kind of weird. Like I first started being like, oh, like I've never really validated myself in my life and who I am and the things that I've actually accomplished and overcame in my life.
Yeah.
And so what's interesting about validation is it becomes a drug. It becomes such a big addiction. And I think a lot of people can relate to this, where if you're not giving yourself validation, you'll seek it from everything. So you'll seek it from your partners, you'll seek it from other people, and not only that, but now things like money. Like if I don't have a lot of money, you know, who am I? Like I gotta have money. I gotta have like someone telling me that they're proud of me. And what's hard about that is nothing is lasting with any of those things. And so you can't get enough. And so you have this dopamine, but it's just not enough. I want more. Like I look back and like I spent probably a college tuition on coaches in my life and mentors. And I look back and was like, actually, like I only hired them because I wanted them to tell me that they were proud of me. And it was never enough because they did. They're like, man, I'm so proud of you. Like, you're an awesome man. Like, and now I look back and I'm like, that's all I ever wanted. But I wasn't validating myself with it. So I was like, dude, just keep hyping me up. Just keep telling me. And it was just never enough. And so I never felt enough. And so in that same process, like, you know, I go and all of a sudden my parents are like bringing up their marriage from 20 years ago. And this is just like a month ago. And they're like, and I'm like, I'm not doing this shit. So I confronted everyone in the family and I'm like, listen, this is where it is. Like, you are all at ground zero. I don't look at us as a family unit. Like, it hasn't been a family unit. I don't look at us as a family unit. I'm trying to build a one-on-one relationship with each of you. And, you know, I confronted my dad about it. And I haven't really like, I've definitely never publicly said this yet, but like I had this big confronting with my dad. And in the conversation, he just validated everything. Like, he's like, I loved basketball. I played rec ball and I loved basketball. I'd be out there playing basketball for hours. And the one thing that he said that really like was like, whoa, like, I was like, you never showed up to any of my basketball games. Where were you? I remember you like maybe one or two of them. He's like, you played basketball? I only remember you playing football. I played football 1 year. 1 year, and it was in junior high, and never played it again. But every year from elementary school all the way up to high school, I played basketball. And he's like, you played basketball? I don't remember that. I was like, exactly. I was like, you don't know a core thing about your son. Like, that's such a big pivotal thing in my life. Like, you don't know that about me. Yeah. And you know, I was like, And here's the thing, like, it's just sad that you didn't care. He's like, it's not that I didn't care. It's that I didn't care enough. And I look at him and I was like, wow, you really dug for the bottom of the barrel for that one. You know, like, and it was such a weird feeling. And I've explained this to like some close people to me. It's such a weird feeling because in that moment, my inner child was like totally validated, which was very healing for me, where I was like, good, I'm not crazy. Like, the things that I've had to learn and work through and try to learn to be the man who I am today, yeah, it's because I had an absent father in my life. And the way that I look at relationships and things like that, it's all skewed because I had an absent father who didn't demonstrate that to me. But at the same time, like, ouch. Yeah. Like, at the same time, I'm experiencing abandonment as an adult. As an adult, yeah. And that was the last thing he said to me. He's like, well, I better go now. And walked out. You know, like that famous clip from The French Prince of Bel-Air where every guy like just gets emotional about like, if there's one scene that like, if you're a guy and then you're like, I don't cry during movies, you just like watch that and you're like, I'm gonna cry. And if you don't, you're like, dude, you're an asshole. You know? But that's literally what happened. I was like, holy shit, like a little traumatizing in that moment. And luckily I'm aware enough to like kind of work through and process that. I was like, but that was a big deal for me. Yeah. I was like, that was 20, you know, and I told him that. I was like, we are having a conversation that should have happened 20 years ago and it never happened. And now you're trying to integrate and be a part of my life and find your place in my life. I was like, it's kind of too late, you know, because I've developed my own life and it had to be without you. And now, what are you going to do? What role? Like, you don't want to be a part of it now. And so, like, that was a big awakening. But, like, you see, like, going back to all of this, when that glass is shattered and, like, I really didn't know what to believe, it's like I came into this new reality where I was like, I have to reshape and reformulate what everything means to me. You know, I have to reshape, like, where do I stand on these, like, principles? And it should be an easy one. And in some ways it is like a moral stance of being like, human trafficking is bad. There's not really much you can do. But also, like, where do I stand? And it comes down to, it's just not my fight. You know, it's just not my fight. And as much as you want to say it's everyone's fight, it's all of our fight, it was for a second. But then when you get so messed up in it, like, and it starts to take over your life and it starts to rob you from the life that you're actually living, like, that's robbing you from the joys of life and happiness that you deserve and need to be doing for yourself. You can't get so inundated with something and lose your own happiness and joy just for the cause of something that I don't like. It's sad to say, and I might be looked at from a negative standpoint by saying this. I don't think it's a fight you're going to win. I think it is the natures of human beings, unfortunately, and the best thing that you can do for yourself and for your children is to teach them the awareness of what it is.
Yeah.
But like, it really doesn't even. The thing that I learned about human trafficking the most is that the way you combat it the most is a stable, loving home. It's an economic thing. So, like, and that's the other thing that people don't understand about it. Like, you want to like combat human trafficking, you combat it by changing the economics of what creates it. And the economics that creates human trafficking is money. Mm-hmm. This is the driving force. Like, honestly, like, it's people needing money and survival to provide for themselves. You have parents that will do it and like give up their kids. Why? Because they need money. Like, it's an economic standpoint at some point. It's drugs, drug abuse, it's things like that. And so like when you start to understand the economics of it, it's like, how do you actually combat it? Well, you start living your life and providing a good, loving, stable home for your children. You start providing and creating an economic standpoint and a firm foundation for them, and the likelihood of them getting into trafficking will be a lot less. Teaching them about like how to have morals, how to have boundaries, how to have like good, healthy relationships. Because again, if a kid is at home and they don't feel like they're getting the love that they want and need, they go seek it somewhere else. We always do that. We always go seek love from the places that we feel like we're not getting it. And that is where the trouble starts, because now they're going to formulate what they feel like is love and acceptance. And if you're not doing that in your own home, then you're the problem. And that's just the reality of it. And so like for me, the best thing for me to do is to cultivate that. That's how I fight human trafficking. Yeah. And so it's super, I would say that like if you listen to this and there's some sad points to that, like the things that like I was doing, like being in operations, being heavily involved in it, like like with the NBA All-Star like weekend that was here last year, and being able to be a part of the biggest sting operation and like being there to help and all that, and just seeing that I don't know what it was for, like if it was for that or not. And so I just really feel like, and from that moment on, since September, I've just had to wake up to not necessarily lies. I don't like to place lies on everyone else. It's my own self. Like, everything's already there, but oftentimes when we are needing that validation in our life, we are willing to believe the lies because we're afraid of what we won't get without it. With the exodus and the anti-sex trafficking, I felt like I was someone. I felt like I was important. It was filling that void.
Is Exodus still alive?
No. No. It dismantled like very quickly. And so, yeah, like when that all happened, it was just like, okay, like, yeah, like it's just hard to want to see that, like, well, without it, I'm no one.
Yeah.
And that's what I had to like come into. I'm like, I'm okay with being no one at this point, because I see like what happens, like everyone on the limelight, like, I'm like, yeah, I don't want that much attention to me. I just want to live the happiest and best life in my own little bubble,
Is there a lot of, it's kind of shocking to know. Is there a lot of traffic in here?
Yeah.
I guess it's hard for me to comprehend that because and this is no secret, right? Utah's known for being a Mormon state.
Yeah.
Right? When everybody and everything is just the right way.
Yeah.
Right? So knowing that all this stuff is out there, it's kinda crazy to know.
Yeah. Well, it's because Utah is a crossroad. So you have so many highways that intersect here. It literally becomes the cross section of things that it becomes a big truck stop. So it's a very easy one to transport people from left to right, and up north and south, like very easy. We found a girl literally who we fell into this camp just over here. And there was 2 girls and like, hey, have you seen our friend? And we're like, no. She went with this truck driver just recently, and we're like, oh shoot, like, we don't know who she is. Literally, like 2 days later, she showed up on the news saying that she was transported from Utah and this truck driver, and was killed. She was just thrown off to the side of the road. And we're like, we know her. And we were able to help with that case because we had so much evidence. So that was actually super helpful because we could instantly go into that. So that's the benefit of being integrated with this homeless community, which we did try to teach, like the police and Homeland Security, and being like, they're like, how do you get so much information? It's like, we integrate with this homeless community so well, and we help them, so they want to give us information. But that's where a lot of it is. I mean, like, literally, we could walk this street and we could probably find someone tonight if we wanted to. Like, that's how prevalent it is. But it doesn't look the way that we think that it looks like. It doesn't look like chains and whatever, like, it's not someone locked up in a basement all the time. It's just simple, like, people doing it because for the money to transport and whatever. Like, there's so many different ways that it can happen like that, and it's just literally like we're right in the heart of it, right here where your studio is.
Do you know where Mama June is?
Last I heard, she is actually behind the Capitol building. They moved, so we found her, and there's this pathway, and they cleared it out. Like, it was crazy. There was a dirt road that is kind of off the tracks, and it looks like you go to a whole different world. Like, the moment that you go on that road, it's like, whoa, like, where are we? Like, and we had to get out of the car, we had to go walk the bridge, and it's literally territory that, like, as just a normal citizen, you're gonna be like, I should not do this. No. But we walked behind it, and she was there. And then the one day that we wanted to go talk to her again because we were looking for someone, she wasn't there, and they moved. And it's crazy where they moved to. Like, it's on behind the Capitol building. There's a hill, and so last time we checked, like, that's where she was.
So do you know her? Does she recognize you? Will she recognize you?
Probably not. Like, and that's the thing, is like, I don't know how well their memories are.
How old is she? Can you tell?
She's older. Like, she's maybe late 50s, 60s, like, well, 50, 60.
Not old. I thought you were like 80s.
Oh, no. Like, but she's like,
we should do a podcast.
I doubt it. No.
You don't think so?
No.
Why? Because of her face?
No. Just they're very isolated. They're very.
But when you say she was sharing information, does she have information about trafficking?
No.
So basically, how do the community help you guys do your work?
So we go in there and we hand out, like, aid kits and food and things like that. So, and we just ask questions. We're like, hey, what about this person? And then they love talking. Like, they do love talking if you're willing to help. And so, like, we helped them, and we're like, we'd see someone with, like, bad, like, wounds on their face and whatnot. And we're like, do you need a bandage? Yeah. Like, here, man. Like, do you need some food? Yeah. Like, here, do you need, like, for women, like, most people don't realize that they need, like, a lot of feminine products.
Yeah.
And, like, we don't ever think about that. Like, you know, they're like, blankets. I was like, no, actually, if you have med kits and, like, feminine products and things for them to, like new underwear and things like that for them, I was like, you have to think about that. Like, these people are, like, needing those kind of things.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I guess blankets, like, in the winter, I see it, but, like,
there's so many blankets circulating that's easy to come by. It really is to come by. What's not easy to come by are those things that, like, are on daily necessity to have to, like, go and have, and, like, you know, the feminine products and things like that.
So are you completely separated from that world of the whole trafficking stuff and everything?
Yeah. I separated myself completely.
You don't have anybody you trust in there?
I can't say that. However, like, the true work of anti-trafficking is very quiet. And that's kind of like what you learn is, like, the ones that are kind of doing the work are very quiet. They don't want to be known. They don't want to be seen. They don't want you to know. And there's a reason for that, is because it's very easy to get back into exploiting, and that's exactly what started to happen with Exodus. Like, you start to become public about it, and it's a very fine line, but you start talking about it and you start trying to use these stories to get money and funds to fund these operations. Well, now you got someone that's very greedy and says, like, oh, let's just keep doing this, we need all this money. But then they're like, well, I'm dedicating so much of my time and my life to this, and it's like, and that's where people fall. I mean, that's what you've seen with the two biggest organizations here, you know, Exodus and the other one, you know. So that's what you see. You see people get greedy. You see people turn into people who they thought they were fighting when they turn into everything that they hate. You know, and I can't really speak, you know, for, you know, I don't really like speak like about like Candace or anything like that. However, I mean, I've talked to all the victims. We stay very close and we talk to each other, and everyone that she affected. And yeah, like, it's just, I know personally, like, how much I was lied to, how deceived I was by her, you know, both in this professional life, but also personally, you know, and finding all of those tangled webs, like, of he said, she said, and all these things. And not only that, but, you know, if I had people come forward and been like, you know, that she was telling people you're this and this and this, and using your name for clout and things like that. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me. I was like, I don't do any of those things. And so people were mad at me and hating me in the public eye. And I was like, I don't do any of that. She told you that, and I didn't know she told you that, you know? And so there's been a lot of stuff. And so, like, it was kind of like, at that point, like, another reason why I kind of cut ties with pretty much everyone, like, where I was like, I don't want to be connected to anyone. I don't want to do any, like, collaborations. I don't want to do, like, business together. I don't want to integrate my business with anyone or anything, like, unless it really, really makes sense. And I have my own control of it, you know? And so that was what was really important to me. So, and I'm learning to listen to things, and as soon as something is like, I question that, I'm out.
Yeah.
You know, the moment that I start questioning things, I don't even second question anymore. I'm like, I'm out.
There's a I don't know if it's a podcast. I think part of it's a podcast. They go on Instagram, they go by Utah Stories. And they have this story a couple years ago where there was homeless people getting killed.
Yeah, for sure.
And they were doing this story. And the reason why it called my attention is because when it got sent to me, they had images of literally right outside our building.
Yeah.
And so I ever since that, I was like, "Ooh, I would love to see that with one of these guys." Obviously, they're well known. They got thousands of followers. So by the time they get to my my
stuff,
DM.
yeah.
They're like, oh, what the fuck is
Yeah.
this guy? But it's like it intrigues me so much to know
Yeah.
because it's easy to look out, see the community and just get not necessarily angry but bothered.
Yeah.
You know. I mean, listen, I'll be the first one to admit it. I've said it many times. The area that where we're at, it happens to be not as much now as it used to be, but there used to be a lot of homeless around here.
Yeah.
And at a point in time, I was like, I started to like mentally degrade this place. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, it's like in the middle of the hood, and then
Yeah.
like this is like happening outside, and I have guests coming in, and like Justin and I were like, I mean, I've said it here again. I've said it here before. I've seen a lady right outside the building with no, literally, I wouldn't even say no bra, no shirt on.
Yeah.
Like it just titties out.
Yeah.
And you go,
Yeah.
you got I mean, I was like, luckily I'm here,
Yeah.
which there's no guests coming.
Yeah.
I don't know if I had Brian last episode. I think he told me once that there was another person that right outside in the entrance on a building. There's a spigot, and I guess I can't remember. I think it was a he.
Yeah.
He was just bathing
Yeah.
there,
Yeah.
and so again, when he tells me, he's like, "Well, good thing we don't have a guest coming in today." But you always run that risk, right? But
Yeah.
again, when you actually say, well, it's a whole nother world there. It's literally a community. You would get the feeling of like, oh, they're looking after each other, and now there's somebody out there that are just murdering these people, right? Or killing them, and then you go, okay, and then I'm like so intrigued about this. I'm like, I don't even know which way to go. Obviously, I send these guys a message. Obviously, they've probably never seen it.
Yeah.
And that's why I was asking you, because I would love to see that with somebody that knows about this.
Well, I mean, I'll say this: like, don't go in with your guard down, but like for the most part, like everyone that I met was always friendly. I never really had an issue, and we were going to. I mean, we were as integrated with these people as much as you could possibly be. Like, I'm telling you, like we were in the community. Everyone was willing to talk. There were certain situations where it was like, okay, like be careful. And you know, there's certain procedures where it's like, hey, close your door. And we keep one door open and it's the back. And I'm also very wary to not turn my back to anyone. And I'm aware of where everyone is, because we were doing this out of a nice Escalade, you know, like, and so there were certain things that you would do, and you just give them. It's kind of like a trade. It is like a literal barter system out there too, you know. And some people were more closed off than others, and some people were, you know, open and friendly and wanted to sit there and talk and like so grateful for everything that you're doing. I remember there was by this Maverick over here, you know, we were going and we were stopping at this light, and we stop and this guy approaches my window and says, "Roll down the window." And there's like, he's like a big like guy. And I was like, and my partner and Candace was like, "Roll down your window." I was like, "What?"
Yeah.
I was like, "No, this is like the one thing that you don't do."
Yeah.
I was like, "I don't know what he has." Like, okay, roll it down. And he is just like, I mean, he was friendly and he talked and stuff, but he had like one of those grips where he could have yanked me out of the car. Like, he like gave me a handshake and he like hurt my hand and was like, "Dude," and he wouldn't let go of my hand. So I was like, oh my gosh, like, and so I'm just like communicating with him, and he was one that would like, his emotions, you could tell, were going like this, and I could tell like if I wasn't careful, like one wrong thing would trigger the wrong thing, and so, you know, I'm like keeping him down and like joking with him and things like that. But it was situations like that. And like, so I wouldn't recommend everyone just being like, well, Matt said on this podcast that you should go be friends with him. I don't think that. I think, you know, you definitely do have to be careful. Like I'll say that we did carry, like, so it wasn't like, you know, we weren't like protecting ourselves. So kind of be mindful of that. But like, I will say, like, go out and like hand stuff out. Like, you could literally go get things donated to you, and you could go find someone that would be willing to like sit down with you and just like do it. And it's like the right fit. You would know, like, be like, I could like have you in the studio and talk to you and have a conversation with you. There are some people that are like literally like just barely getting out on the streets, and they're like, yeah, like, you know, I've got out of this situation before, and now I'm back. And it's just such an interesting thing to listen to people's stories. And that I had one couple who their story was really interesting. Like, they were an older couple who came over here to be with their kids. Their kids kicked them out, and for no reason. Like, they were the victims at that point, and they were homeless and just getting by. And they're like, but we still have each other. And I was like, man, crazy.
What a way to see it.
Yeah. And they had a really awesome story, but like also it was really awakening that like sometimes we kind of judge people and like, oh, you kind of choose this, which again, like, yeah, maybe that it is, but like they really like told us like why they were in that situation, and it really wasn't like something that they were doing because of drugs or anything like that. You know, it was just, you know, I can't remember the whole story, but yeah. I walked away and I was like, like, interesting. You know,
there's so much more. There's so much out there that we don't know.
Yeah, it's really easy to like look at it and be like, oh, that's drugs.
Yeah.
It's not all that. Like, it's just again, and the ecosystem behind all that and how that all works. Like, you learn it, and I don't even think, you know, talking to our police, like, they don't always know it either. Because they were interested on how we were getting so much information, and we say, well, we just go and do this, and then we do this and this and this. And they're like, interesting. And we were working with Homeland Security, and we were sitting, like, coming back with returning reports and talking to them. We're like, we don't know how you get this information, but we're glad that you do.
No.
You know, so it's stuff like that. Like, and obviously our tax dollars aren't going to that kind of work. We're not going out there to solve every mystery of every homeless person out on the street. So it's understandable. It's not the job.
Will they always be around?
Probably. Again, everything comes down to economic standpoint, and there, I just kind of feel like it's just the law of the land of like human nature. It's always going to be there. It's really just how it works. And I can't even remember. There's like a movie on this, but like, it kind of always has to be that way, unfortunately. And it's your job to figure out how to navigate that, like where your moral standpoints are and like where you are. And like, I know that I sound like a horrible person, like saying those things, but when you start to understand that and you start to understand that. So here's the one thing I will say, like, that really put it in perspective. So you can go in there and you can say, I'm here to do good work. I'm here to go do that. And you've seen this with organizations like, what was that one shoe that everyone like bought because they would buy a pair of shoes for people? I can't remember. But anyways, like, if you bought these shoes, then they donated a pair of shoes to these people.
Oh, okay.
Right? Everyone thought they were doing good. However, the problem was now everyone knew that they could get free shoes in this area. So now what you're doing is you're now disrupting an economic standpoint in this economy with these people. And so what happens is you start to disrupt their economy and you actually contribute to a problem. So sometimes, like, if you don't understand like economic standpoints and you don't understand economics in general, especially as like you're going into other foreign countries and you don't understand their economy and you think that you're solving a problem, the truth is that you could be the problem. And that's where it becomes so twisted, is you start to do these things and you're saying, am I really doing good or am I hurting these people more? And that's what you have to see. It's a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
Even with trafficking, you integrate yourself into these trafficking communities, you disrupt the economy. So we had the Philippines who were like, yeah, like we don't love you guys coming here because you disrupt our economy. You cause an uproar. You bring all this chaos and then you just leave. And then what happens is they just go right back to where they were 10 times more. You know, so you're disrupting our economy doing this, and you're hurting more people than you're helping people. And that was the biggest problem. You know, the reason Exodus started is because we wanted to fill in the gaps of trafficking. And part of that was, how do we get people rescued, but then also healed after their trafficking and reintegrated with the world? Because that's a whole process of trafficking. Most people just say, oh, we're going to rescue them and then the job's done.
Yeah.
It's not that simple. We tried this in Afghanistan. We went over there and we tried to rescue and find pathways. But then what we saw was, now what do we do with all these people? What do we do? We can't just go send them back in.
Yeah.
So now what do? You just disrupted their whole economy and something that, you know, they're pretty used to. Like, and I know that's like horrible, and they're kind of used to the chaos and war over there, right? And so now we've disrupted them, but now you've taken them out of their environment, and now they're like, what do we do? When can we go back home? When can we do this?
Yeah.
Now they're actually in more suffering, and now we got to solve this problem. But if you don't solve that problem, then you're just leaving them just, if not worse, to just die. So what do? You have a moral dilemma at that point.
Yeah.
You know, and you don't have the funds or resources to help a whole country by yourself. Right? You don't have the means to do that. You don't have the resources to do that. So now what do? You caused this. So now what?
Oh.
Right? So that's why I'm like, it's kind of like the law of nature. Like, you're always going to have poverty. You're always going to have a lower class, middle class, upper class. You always are going to have those levels of economics. It's never gone away. Out of the one thing that has ever stand true in history of humanity, it is that. That has always been in existence, and it's never something that has been solved. And I don't know that it ever will be or can be. You know, at that standpoint, if everyone was equal,
Yeah.
it would actually cause more disruption. So, and I don't think people realize that. They're trying to bring equality to everyone. Everyone has the same amount of money, same amount of if we did that, it wouldn't work. It would become imbalanced very quickly. So, it's kind of a moral dilemma that we run into.
Yeah.
You just have to understand like where it is that you stand.
Well, I guess they will always be there, huh? Did you see what they did with the building, that this homeless shelter? They built like I'm guessing, I'm hoping it's still for them, but it's they built like apartments.
Oh yeah. Someone came in, like they were building homes for them.
They wanna tear down this building to do apartments.
Oh really? I could see that.
Yeah, because I mean, if you notice, everything around here is being torn down, and built apartments.
Yeah. And again, like at that point, like moral dilemma. You think you're doing good, but do you just create more? Like you're putting these people in homes that aren't used to it. They take advantage of it. Now they just stay here forever.
Yeah.
And then not learning how to integrate them, not learning. Like it is a complex thing. Like, and I'm not saying that that's what happens. I'm just saying there are more things when you start to try to provide good. It's not just about providing good. You have to understand that you are there to disrupt an economy that creates a moral dilemma of problems that you have to be able to answer for. And if you can't, you're going to run into those things where it's like, ooh, you know?
Yeah.
Like, what do we do now? And if you started, I think our country is, if you talk to any other foreign country, this is why they hate us Americans. If people want to know like why we're hated so much, it's because we don't understand this. Like we are so naive to economic standpoints and how the economy works in world economics. And that's why you can the American people, we really don't understand what's happening in Ukraine and Russia. We don't understand like what's happening over in like China and I can't even say that I fully understand it. But however, like being a part of this organization and us having gone into Ukraine and Afghanistan and things like that during these times, it taught me a lot that like we often are so self-centered on ourselves and our country that we don't realize about how like money really works in the world and how that affects everyone over here. And how important that is to understand. And I think it would change a lot of our views as citizens and where we were voting and and our political stances and what was important. But we don't really understand those things. Like it's not really taught to us. Like world economics is not really taught to us and how that all goes back and forth.
Yeah.
And you would start to understand like why other countries are more pissed off at us. Why they look at us and be like, you Americans are so naive. And it's true, we are so naive. That world taught me so much about so many things about that. Like, yeah.
And now you train homeless people. No, I'm just kidding.
Exactly.
Now they look buff thanks to you.
And now I have my army.
Listen, before we go, tell the people where they can find you, everything about your company, how they can get a hold of you, everything.
Yeah, so my Instagram handle is Matt D. Johnson 23. That's my Instagram. Or you can go to Lifecore, and Lifecore is LYFCOR. And you can go to the website, www.lifecore.com, or follow me on Instagram. I'm very live and do that. And I do nutrition coaching.
Yeah.
And, I've reopened life coaching.
Yeah.
So that is something that I've been passionate about for like 7 years. After my divorce, I kind of stopped doing it and opening it to the public as much. But now, like, I'm reintegrated and doing it. So yeah, there's life coaching and nutrition coaching that I offer for people, and those are my main focuses on Lifecore.
Yeah. I had a blast working out with Matt. Take advantage of his service. You won't be disappointed. My thing is, I don't know how to cook. I don't know how to eat. But if I did,
we have answers.
But if I did, I would look a lot better. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah,
that was
sure.
awesome.
It'll be the first time, but not the last.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome.
Okay.
You can catch this show at, I always forget the name of the show. It's because I've been doing the Beehive for 5 years.
Yeah.
But anyway, every time I go, you can catch How Did It Get So Good on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. But you can also find me, Angel Cervera on Instagram, Angel Cervera on Facebook. That's my last name, Cervera. And once again, thanks, Matt.
Yeah, absolutely.
Appreciate
Thank you.
This has been How Did It Get So Good. Thank you.